Gosh, it feels like we just started the year, but here we are already at the end of February. For those of you who celebrate, Happy Lunar New Year. I heard it's the year of the dragon and it's supposed to bring good luck and all the best. So if you're year of the dragon, this is your year. If you're having a kid this year, they're supposed to be extremely powerful and all the omens point to yes. So that being said, I wanted to bring some hopefully good news for you on this market forecast. But before I get into that, I wanted to thank all of you for always choosing Metis as your real estate consultants. You have a lot of choices out there. It's a privilege to an honor for you to trust us in all your real estate endeavors. So let's get on with it. First and foremost, let's get into the numbers. I'm going to go over them really quick and then break some down. Normally in a market forecast, I could tell you, hey, look, it's a buyer's market or it's a seller's market. I can't do that. It's a really fractured market depending on your price point, where you're looking at, and the type of property you're looking at. You're either holding the long end of the stick or you may be holding on with your fingertips. It's a really fragmented market right now. Things are moving extremely fast or extremely slow. But let's break down the numbers. So in Santa Clara County, we still have low inventory. We're at about 1,100 units. We would like to see about 1,400 to 1,500 in what we consider a healthy market. But 1,100 market, which means low inventory, naturally that means it's a seller's market. You should expect your home to be sold in 27 days. Median price is 1.4. Let's farther break that down. Sunnyvale, which is a really highly contested market, popular with a bunch of new buyers, especially those with families who work in tech and want great schools. Homes in Sunnyvale are flying off the shelf. They're procuring offers in 16 days, which means you arguably probably have 8 to 9 days to get that offer in. Your average price point is 1.9 million, and properties are selling almost always above list. 105% above list is what we're seeing in Sunnyvale. Now, if you want to go to the extreme opposite, the farther away from, well, you get away from Palo Alto, which we consider the nucleus of the Bay Area, the more property you could buy for the same dollar, and the arguably least desirable, if you want to call it that way, the area is. But let's go all the way down to South County. Let's go to Gilroy. If you list your home today, you should expect to get 98% of your home price. Your average home in Gilroy is about $980,000, and you should expect to procure that number in about 45 days on the market. Remember, anytime you go past 30 days, the odds of you getting a list price is fairly low. But that doesn't mean you have to sell. So depending on the skill of your agent, you could always negotiate up or down, sideways. Anyway, let's get into San Mateo County. We have almost 700 units on the market. Pretty healthy for San Mateo. Things are moving. Average price point is 1.6 million. The most expensive county of the 4 regions in the Bay Area. But that doesn't mean things are flying off the shelf. The average days to procure that number is 80 days. So because it's a higher sales price point, look, if you list your property at 1.6 anywhere in San Mateo right now, I would tell you it'll fly. Your average price point here is probably closer to 2.5 to 3 million. And as home prices increase, the air gets thinner, the number of potential buyers just drop out. Before we get to San Francisco, let's talk about Alameda County. Alameda is the broadest spectrum, encloses the most amount of cities, the most amount of homes. We have about 1,500 homes in Alameda County right now. That's a pretty healthy number, kind of like exactly what we want to see. Your average home, if you list it today, will stay on the market for about 30 days. Median price point about $950,000. If you're a first-time home buyer with a limited budget, this is exactly where you need to be. In terms of, if you wanted a single-family home, yard, lot, neighborhood, things like that. Lean on us, let's bring you to the right neighborhoods. And if you're okay with it and you're location agnostic, there are some really fun spots out here. Let's take a look at Martinez. Let's take a look at Concord. Let's take a look at San Ramon, Danville, Alamo, etc., etc. So say you work for Apple and you're a designer, you love Eichlers, but you understand what the cost of Eichler is along the Embarcadero or Sunnyvale or even San Jose, you're looking at fierce bids of 2.5 to 3 to almost 5 million for a turnkey Eichler. There's a pocket of Eichlers in Concord, and we could get you that same home for about 700,000 on a larger lot. And I guarantee you we've moved some Apple designers out there. So that's the value in talking to a group like us that does business all over the Bay. Leverage our experience and our know-how to solve your needs. And let's talk about San Francisco. San Francisco is the only county that I would argue it's still depressed. We have about 1,300 units available in San Francisco right now. That's about probably 400 more than what I would like to see in a normal San Francisco market. Properties also stay on the market for 80 days, and the median home price in San Francisco is 1.3 million right now. A lot of you have dreams about always living in the city, always owning something in the city. Now is the time to make good on those actions. And just like my example of Santa Clara County, the story within San Francisco is that San Francisco is a city of neighborhoods. So we have to really look at the neighborhoods to understand what's going on with San Francisco. Let's take a look at Noe Valley, a really popular resident-driven community. Great restaurants, great culture, coffee shops, shopping, etc. Your average home price in Noe Valley commands 1.8 million. And because it's a healthy neighborhood and the desirability is high, things sell within 30 days, and you're getting 100% a list price if it's well presented, well marketed, and well priced. Let's move to, I wouldn't say the least desirable area of San Francisco, but the area with most inventory, most choices, and it makes it a buyer's market. But we're talking about the East Cut, we're talking about Mission Bay, we're talking about the Dog Patch, we're talking about Hunters Point, we're talking about South Beach, the general Soma neighborhood. Or these are skyboxes, which means they all are kind of identical, comps are easy, but you list one of those, expect to be on the market for at least 100 days. Average price point is $998,000, and things are selling about 96% a list. So if I heard that and said, we talked about it, we want to bring your property to market, you're okay with $1 million for your property, we would probably list at like 1.1, 1.2 million. And I would tell you, we're gonna sit here, we're gonna do all the marketing, we're gonna do all the promotions, all of that stuff. And if lucky, we'll procure an offer within that 30 days, but prepare to run 90 to 100 days there. So that's your market at snapshot. Really depending on where you are and what you're buying and your budget, it's gonna dictate whether you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market, or maybe you're just kind of dead even. But lean on us to be your real estate advisors. We'll walk you through that whole thing, and we'll make sure you come out with your real estate goals achieved. Now that said, let's move on to some of the more fun stuff. I did mention it was Lunar New Year, and I had the opportunity to be invited to a Lunar New Year dinner with a lot of Silicon Valley CEOs, and I got to pick their brains and their insights about how they felt about Silicon Valley home prices, employees, and how they're positioning their companies, whether it's hybrid, work from home, fully remote, or full in office, and how that dictates their expansions and where they're going to open up offices, etc. Most, if not all, companies have enforced either a hybrid scenario or a back in the office scenario. The biggest holdout of this dinner was Dropbox. Dropbox is big on remote. So if you're a Dropbox employee, you're location agnostic, work from anywhere, you're good. That's kind of what they said. Almost everyone else is enforcing a hybrid or in the office policy. And we saw this affect a lot of, we saw it affect the rental market last year. All these people came back from wherever they were living during the pandemic, and it blew up the rental scenario, created scarcity in the market, and rental prices rocketed up. Due to the uncertainty of the economy and all the layoffs earlier this year, we haven't really seen much movement on the rental demand, so rentals are coming on down. but that doesn't mean there's allotment of inventory. What that means is these people who sign 12-month contracts, they're going to be hitting 6, 8, 10 months of their lease, and a lot of them are moving into the buyer pool. So as their leases come up, they're looking at purchasing properties and reestablishing themselves here in Silicon Valley. Another fun thing about this scenario and learning how CEOs think and learning about, especially those who are building fintech models, they forecast the viability of Silicon Valley housing. And they also take into consideration how much they have to pay people to work here, and can they cross-pollinate talent or hire this type of talent elsewhere. And the result of that is Silicon Valley is the best talent of anywhere in the world. And during this pandemic, it reestablished Silicon Valley is where you want to be if you're at the top of your game, which means the best jobs, the biggest opportunities, and the best companies are right here, and they thrive here. And that allows me to be more bullish on this market, especially pushing forward. The 2 books I'm going to recommend to you for those who want to know more about this topic is The Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is a legendary hedge fund operator. He owned Bridgewater Associates. He has since retired and made his life's mission to educate people on financial models, how currency works, and how economies grow and contract. And in the Changing World Order, he talks about how America became the financial reserve of the world, and how we left the gold standard and moved to a fiat system, which created this rapid expansion of the economy. And then a great book to follow that up with is The End is Just the Beginning. It's by a guy named Peter Zeihan. Zeihan's a geopolitical strategist, and basically what that means is he studies history and applies that to the political ambitions of different countries. He catalogs how nations come to power and how nations dissolve or lose power through we call these dials and knobs, but through economics, through people, through resources, etc. And he mentions a couple things about countries aging out, countries that are unable to sustain their current population as the biggest generation retires and sunsets. So if you look at areas that have built 100% housing, which means they don't have a housing shortage, but also they're not producing enough new generations, new kids, they haven't reproduced enough. All of a sudden, as this current exists a generation of boomers, as they age, retire out, move out of the country, or die off, there's going to be an excess of homes. There's going to be more homes than the current population can occupy. And, economics 101 means if there's more properties, then those properties lose value. Things are only worth what they're worth because they're scarce. The United States, along with a couple other countries, or a few other countries, New Zealand, Sweden, Norway, and he mentions a couple others, have produced enough of either people coming in with opportunities and jobs, or reproduce enough population where as boomers dissipate and vacate housing, we're able to replace that. So interesting stuff. You're into that. It's definitely above my pay grade, so read up into it, absorb it, let me know what you thought of it, and if there's anything else I should read or consider on that topic. 2 other questions I get from a lot of people are, Wallace, how is foreign buyers or institutional buying? I hear hedge funds and private equity are buying up tracts of properties. Is that driving up home prices? Is that going to affect me as a buyer? And the answer to that is no, not really. I'm not really seeing any of that, or maybe I don't operate in the right cities. Cities I would expect to see that are probably like Manteca, or somewhere along the middle of nowhere, Bakersfield along Highway 5. if you're a private equity firm or if you're an institutional buyer, you don't like risk. You almost want to de-risk your investments. And how Wall Street does this is they buy portfolio companies, kind of like the S&P 500. It's $1 by diversified among 500 different stocks. Hedge funds, on the other hand, buy specific stocks and then carry all that risk. As an institution, if they had a budget of $1 million, they would rather buy 10 homes at $100,000 each rather than one home at $1 million. That $1 million home is extremely risky, so you want to de-risk that by diversification. And then as far as foreign buyers, we saw quite a bit of this in 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. And if we have another global recession, I would tell you you're probably going to see this as well. But we just haven't seen it yet. Two things. The biggest foreign buyers we saw during the Great Recession were Chinese and Russian. Russia is having kind of a fun thing with the rest of the world right now. Not going to get into politics, but for a Russian national to buy in Silicon Valley or in America right now is not the easiest thing. And China, although we don't have any restrictions on their currency, China has made it difficult for their nationals to get money out of China. And the reason why these two countries were buying properties in the US was their native currency was so volatile, they wanted to hedge it with something that wasn't so volatile. And rather than changing the yuan directly for dollars and holding cash for cash, they wanted a hedge on that cash, and that hedge was real estate. It was easy to buy real estate. Real estate is relatively liquid. And even if both currencies collapse, there's some intrinsic value in real estate, especially in a desirable area. And that's why that scenario happened. But it's not a thing right now. At least I haven't seen it in our practice. That being said, where's the opportunity? Residential, multifamily, commercial. There's not much opportunity in residential right now. We're actually seeing people accept the terms of what they are. You know, those with 3% interest rates, but in the wrong location, they're willing to give that up and move to the right location. Residential, especially primary home buyers, you know, the age-old saying that we go by, buy when you can, sell when you have to, is holding true right now. And I'd rather get you into the right property, even at, you know, high interest rates, and then we'll refi and rework the way down. You can actually refi, or we'll get you into a program where you could pay $300 to index to market rate anytime. So there's quite a few options out there. Get a hold of us, let us talk to you about those, and introduce you to our qualified vendors. Multifamily, we're seeing quite a bit of, in the past we haven't seen cap rates for multifamily make sense in Silicon Valley. I basically tell people you would buy the property, expect rent to cover 60 to 80%, and then you would still have to subsidize for that, plus taxes and insurance. You really make your money off the appreciation of this area and when you sell. So from an investment standpoint, any traditional real estate investor will tell you you're nuts. But we have seen cap rates work out at 15 units or above. But the first time in over a decade, we're seeing cap rates work out at about 4 to 5 units, especially when it goes on to commercial, so 5 units and above, just because those loans are really tough to qualify for. They're higher interest rates and they want almost minimum 35% down. So if that's something that you're curious into, multifamily, especially commercial buildings, we're seeing commercial buildings being sold at 30, 40, 50%, up to 60% discount. And we have a especially fun firehouse on the market in San Francisco right now. Those are exciting times to get into commercial right now. Any of that interests you, get at us, let us kind of walk you through, and let us help you make your dreams happen. And finally, the last question I wanted to answer was San Francisco Chronicle asked me to provide an opinion about how we deal with mobility challenges with clients that are aging or can't get into properties. Normally when a property comes on the market, we got to rush there, we got to walk through, we got to, you know, make our decisions. For some people, that's just not reality. They're not that mobile. They can't leave and they can't get into properties right away. During the pandemic, we had a real live case scenario to test all this out. And technology is what allows us to solve a lot of this. In the easiest scenario, we take a phone, we walk through, we FaceTime, you kind of make a decision that way. But we have tools to scan into Meta Quest or Apple Vision Pro. Strap these on, you're in the property. Let's walk you through just like if you were there. So technology is going to solve all of this, and we're excited to bring it all to you. Again, you have a lot of choices in real estate. We're so grateful that you choose us as your trusted advisors and consultants. Thank you all for supporting. We appreciate you and your referrals. I look forward to talking with you next month.